everybody, this is Robin, and we are with Brian and Jason. Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey.
So we are actually going to talk today about putting prices of your artwork on your website. So, I mean, you know, we pretty much, all three of us have been, you know, come from more of the old school, now into the new school, whatever you call it these days, I don't even know. But, you know, back in the day, I can say that a lot of artists really struggled with this notion of putting prices of their pieces on their website. And I've heard from a lot of different people, you know, people who are older than me are like, oh, you never put prices. I don't even put prices on the wall or in my studio or whatever. And some people obviously on the exact opposite spectrum would say, well, why not put prices? What's the big deal? You know, and because I'm sort of like in the middle of those two spectrums, like I totally get it, but then I struggle with the fact that in my mind, maybe it's just in my mind, I don't know, but I feel like, okay, well, if I put the price, then people are gonna automatically, instead of looking and just pondering it or looking at it, whether it be on my website or even up on a wall, right? Are they just looking at the price and moving on? Or, you know, how does that affect them is what I'm trying to say. Is it affecting them? I don't know. But I have never put prices on my website, never, because of this. Because, you know, a lot of people always told me, you never put prices on your website. And these are artists, you know, who've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
And so I just never did. I figured if somebody was interested in a piece, they would contact me and we would negotiate, or we would talk about the price or whatever, you know, on a one-on-one thing.
Yeah.
But to a lot of people, it's like, oh, you got to put prices on your, you know, work. So I don't know. I feel on the fence about the whole thing. So what do you guys think?
Well, I just think that there's two schools of thought on the subject. I mean, there are people who are really aggressive about selling. I mean, they go to all the art fairs, and it's like serious supplemental income to them, and they're like professional salespeople, you know.
I mean, that's pretty much what I'm thinking along those lines. You know, that there are the schools of thought. Like my personally, as far as that's concerned, it's just like putting the title near the piece. Some people don't put in the piece, want the piece to speak for itself. And then, you know, it's like when the person clicks on the piece on the website, they see, okay, what the name is, what the, you know, the medium is, you know, all the other, you know, details. And as far as pricing goes, I for one think that may distract the viewer, because, you know, if you're someone that's like aggressive with, you know, with trying to, you know, move your artwork, you know, move that, you know, that's whole, you know, one way of thinking. Hey, okay, that's this price. This is set in stone. It doesn't leave much room for negotiation.
You're locked in.
Yeah.
On that price. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know what, like, if I'm going to sell paintings in a coffee shop, they might be at a lower price than if I was going to go to, like, say, you know, the Old Town Art Fair or the Gold Coast, where the price points are a lot higher. You know, like Streeterville, where everybody's got tons of money. And you don't want to undercut all the other artists. You just kind of want to be in the same lane. So
well, and that's part of too, I think, where things really start to get kind of dicey. You know, and my point of view is that I've always kept my prices consistent, no matter if I'm selling at a cafe, no matter if I'm selling at an art fair, or if I'm selling at a gallery. Because, you know, because you are looking at different things, and I think a lot of people don't realize if you're going to sell at a gallery, chances are they're taking 50% commission. So your prices actually need to already have incorporated that 50%, so that you're at least making the money that you feel that your art is worth for you.
Yeah.
So I've always told artists, you know, pricing your work should stay consistent, because what if that art fair person goes to that gallery? They're going to be real confused at these different prices. So I've always tried to say, stay consistent, because let's say somebody really loves, and I've done this 100 times, I can tell you with people, if somebody really loves your work and they say, look, you know, I know that you have $1,500 on this piece, would you take $1,000? You know, and that's between you and that person.
Right.
You can negotiate.
Yeah.
Okay? But what you can't do is you can't negotiate really at art fairs, and you don't really have you have zero negotiation when you're hanging up in a gallery.
Right.
So my thing on that, in terms of that, is always stay consistent if you can, because then the viewer doesn't feel like they're being had. And that's another comment for pricing. I can tell you that over the years, we're talking now 18 years of dealing with people and, you know, getting their opinions, some of the things that people enjoyed was the fact that our artists had the titles and the price. And I would ask, well, why is that, you know, to them? And they'd say, well, because then I don't feel like I'm being had, that you know, this is the price and that's the price. That you're not just going to make up some number out of nowhere. So, I mean, there's that, right?
Now having worked with you for some time, I remember your school of thought, and I also do remember another school of thought that I came across this like years ago with the Micromentalist movement, and essentially it, like, in terms of pricing, it's basically it's consistent with time. So for example, their movement is always about, you know, making it accessible to everybody, like in whatever walks of life.
Absolutely.
So like what their movement was is that, no, I'm going, like, okay, we're going. I've taken I have like this like little 2x2 painting, but I've done like 10 plus hours of work on it. So they're like, what, you know, your school of thought is going to be, bless you, it's going to be one, like, it's like one specific price. Way they're thinking is like 10 hours, like, okay, how much does the buyer make for 10 hours work? Okay, let's say, you know, they're like they're doing 15 hour, you know, they do $15 an hour. All right, cool. This piece of work is for 150. Whereas, like, if it's like someone, like some executive, I'm just going to throw a number out, like 45 an hour. Okay, well then, okay, this piece is for you, then it's for 450. Now it's, yeah, I mean, that's a way of thinking. I don't personally, you know, go like subscribe to that, but to me is a benchmark for that, and going back to the whole putting prices onto a website kind of sort of brings a bit of a gray area to that,
right?
Because at that point it's so, even though it's not variable, it is.
Yeah. Because I mean, okay, you have several different types of pieces on your different sizes. Now somebody looks at, obviously they're going to click on the biggest size piece first. You can bet on it, and it's going to be the most expensive. So then what happens if the price is there? Do they continue to click on and look at the other thing, or did they say, well, this is, $5,000, no, way out of my price range, I ain't even going to look at the rest, right? So that's the part of the situation that I kind of struggle with. Right now, for my observation series, I did put up the prices
on your website.
On my website. And I mean, it's neither here nor there to me, because those are the prices. I have an inventory sheet that I keep. Those are the prices. Now, look, when you were talking about in terms of inflation, we do have to adjust. We do. I mean, that's just the way of it. That's just like somebody's, hourly salary adjusts. So, as in terms of, you guys who are watching, whether you're an artist or a collector, these are things that you may or may not know or don't realize. So these are the kinds of things that I feel are important to talk about, because I don't think a lot of people know what to do. And so for me, part of my school of thought has always been, stay as consistent as you can across the board, adjust every year as you need to. Some years you may have to adjust down because, people just don't have the money, like during COVID. Who was expecting a pandemic? But now we all have to adjust to that, to adjust to people's income. So it's not like anything else that anybody else does in their businesses, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like without compromise, right? I mean, we're still putting in a lot of hours,
Oh yeah.
Which we don't hardly ever get compensated for in our art. And that is the truth. Most artists price down because we're basically living day to day. Some of us have day jobs, some have part-time jobs, some, like myself, have been focused on art for the past 18 years. So any little thing is helpful, but how much compromise do we do? And is it helpful? And maybe if you guys have opinions about that, I would love you guys to put it in the comment, because I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer.
I mean, you do. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are going to do, what you feel that you need to do. I mean, that's pretty much going to be the truth with everything. What works for me, based off of, when I put work up in the gallery, and someone's interested in a piece, they usually say, hey, what you want for it, and usually we usually start the dialogue from there. And I start by saying, hey, it's going to be such whatever amount, whatever amount that is. That works for me. That works for me within a gallery setting. Now, in terms of like how it works, like in I got on a website. It usually in the digital world, everything is. I'm actually more successful with commissions, which are a whole completely different can of worms altogether, and so as far as like what, like, you know, to answer like the main topic of the question, is this, you know, is it better to, you know, to put your price on the website or not? For me, I honestly do not have the answer to that. And whether or not I will have the answer to that, it all depends on, you know, what's more successful for me.
Right.
Well, I don't have prices on my website, and whenever I get an email about a painting, it always starts off the same way. Tell me about that painting. You know, what inspired you to do it? And then usually secondary is, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I always write a nice email back. You know what, you know, my medium, and you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and then we talk about a price, and it usually goes through. You know,
Yeah.
I've never had any difficulty conveying that with the customer. But
Yeah, one of the things I thought that I probably will do is just maybe put a range in my description for those particular series of works, and say this series is a range from this price to this price. I mean, I struggle with it because I'm like you, Brian. I feel like, you know, I don't want people to get dismayed just looking at the price, because already, I mean, we can go into all these different variables, because obviously we're moving into a different world,
yeah.
you know, and our visibilities have changed a lot. And, you know, are people looking at art on websites? And it really, I don't care how great you have it photographed, it will never be as good as seeing it in person.
Exactly.
Ever.
Now,
Even digital work that you have printed and framed, and it's framed and printed exact size that you envision it,
Right.
until you see that piece with your own eyes, will you ever be able, in my opinion, to have the impact of my creative output.
Yeah.
So we really, there's a lot of nails in this coffin, you know, so to speak.
Well, I mean, like, you know, like, especially with, you know, with COVID, you know, there's so many more variables that popped up. Now, one of the hottest topics right now is NFTs.
Right.
And for those who are like unaware, you know, NFTs, they're digital. However, the price goes way up, very easily, and that's largely because of, you know, various, you know,
And it's a non-tangible item.
It's non-tangible. The whole thing is not tangible, but a lot of people been eating that up, and that price right there, alongside the artwork.
But those
Well,
prices weren't
whether-
set by any artist. It just was.
Now, because, you know, you were talking about this, and we're having this discussion, and now these just popped into my head that like, okay, this variable has been thrown in, and I will guarantee, I am willing to bet money that the NFT, the boom of NFTs are going to affect how we display pricing on our own websites. You know, like, you know, because you know, there's that layer of transparency, because, you know, because they're pricing 100% completely transparent. And, you know, going back to that old school thing of, like, you know, of how, like, whether or not, you know, like, oh, you're not, you know, don't put prices on the website, don't put prices on the website. Well, now the end user, like the person looking at the website, well, like, okay, well, these guys are doing, doing like putting prices on the website. Why aren't you? And so now we're like in my head, we're going to have these conversations
Right.
with the patrons saying, okay, this is why I'm not putting the prices on the website, or this is why this is on my this is on my website.
Yeah.
So
Here's the thing though, is I get that about transparency, because I am all for transparency.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not about deceiving anybody with my prices. Of course, like I said, we have to go with the times. And sometimes our prices have to be flexible. It has to go down sometimes it has to go up depending on inflation and how things are going in the world, just like any job, any business would. But what's different is that we also have negotiation room, where if somebody doesn't have that specific amount of money, can negotiate and say, this is what I have, what do you think? And that's where we can go back and forth. So, NFTs, that's something that we definitely are going to discuss on another time, because that is a huge thing I don't understand at all. And I'm sure a lot of people don't understand it either. So, but it is interesting to actually try to understand it and get where that's all going.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily that I want to be a part of it, but it's an interesting
concept. It really is an interesting concept, and I was thinking about that in terms of like how we who aren't in that field, how are we affected even though we're outside?
Yeah. I mean, to me, my only question really for myself in terms of do we put prices or don't we, is the clickability. I don't want prices to stop people from continuing to look at your work. That's the whole point of us doing art. Isn't just for ourselves, of course, that's a big thing, but to get viewers to view it, to comment on it, to email you about it, to inquire, not to just stop in your tracks because you see a price and then all of a sudden they've clicked once and they don't bother to click on anything else.
It's like with sticker shock, where they call
right.
it.
Exactly.
So I think that's what I'm struggling with. Obviously I've seen these NFTs where people are making $1 million on a non-tangible thing. You know what I mean? How does that happen? So that's what I'm saying, is that's a whole world that's like sci-fi reality I have not tapped into. Okay? Not that I'm not interested in learning more about it. It's just that I come from a whole line of different people and thoughts.
All three of us have.
So to me, walking into that is going down a rabbit hole is deep, okay?
Oh, yes.
So, but at this point, it's just like it's one thing that has always plagued my mind, and I have tested it by having tags sometimes and then not having tags sometimes when we were doing Third Fridays, and just seeing what people see. And sometimes I'll get more people look at it because of the title and be like, oh, that the title of this really resonates with me. And then we talk about the piece, blah, blah, blah. To me, titles are not a secondary in terms of my creativity. The title is part of it. You know what I mean? It's part of that conversation. It's that little snippet of that creation, instead of it being a statement. It's that little piece that gives you an insight of my thoughts of why I did why this piece was created. You get me?
Yeah.
So it's never been secondary. So to me, titles have always been important because I felt like you need to know a little bit about why, and that begins that conversation of, whatever. So, but pricing, I've kind of always been on that thing of, do I show it? Don't I show it? Do I put it on my website? Don't I put it on my website? I feel like no matter what we say or do, it's always going to be a double-edged sword.
I don't have prices on my website, but at a gallery and a wall sitting, I do.
Yeah. Do you keep an inventory, like an inventory sheet of like your prices, or no? No.
No, it fluctuates. Like I say, I read the room. Like I say, if I'm at like a high-end art show and I don't want to undercut all these other artists because I don't want to get them pissed off at me. Like, look at this guy. Who do you think he is? Like I say, but if I'm at a coffee shop, or what, good example is the Art Colony. Been shown there for years. And it's just a neighborhood art show. It's just neighborhood people who come by. And I had this landscape that I brought several times to the show. And there was a guy who comes to every show. And he lives in the area. And one day he's like, look, I in this landscape. You bring it all the time. I love it. But this is how much money I have. And I really want to have it. And it was really low ball, but you know what? I sold it to him for that price because
he loved it.
He loved it, and it was going to a good home.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm 100% for that.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point. You want your art to be loved and respected, and it just not be a commodity to somebody.
Right.
That's been my.
He really wanted that.
Absolutely,
piece.
I've given pieces away.
Yeah.
I've given them
away all the time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, then it's all a matter of what are you doing the artwork for? I mean, that's a bottom line. I mean, if I for one don't want to like I just want my art to be enjoyed.
Right.
First and foremost. Now, of course, given my particular situation, I do want to move these pieces.
Right.
We all do. We're all the same.
Especially
here and now.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're thinking. In my way of thinking is that. Okay, I want to do, yes, I don't want that to distract. I actually want my pieces to draw them in, to have these conversations that say, hey, I like your piece, what are you done with it, blah, blah, have these conversations just like, like if you're in the gallery, high-end gallery, coffee shop, whatever. Having these conversations. Like, okay, I'm interested. How much do you want for it? And that's where you can just roll off the tip of your tongue. Like, okay, go this little piece, $80, $80, take it home right now, and and there's a lot of there is a lot of internal fluctuations. Whether you put your you have like an inventory, put in your inventory how much this or not.
Yeah.
I for one I do have the inventory of my pieces, but in terms of terms of prices, I know exactly how much everything is going to be, and I know that I would have to adjust, for inflation, or if I just want to move the piece, which for me is a rarity.
Well, it's I think no matter how we look at it, there's always going to be somebody who's going to be upset about it.
Of course.
So I mean, we can't. I'm not saying that we need to please everybody. I'm just really getting down to our internal struggles, because I've learned a long time ago that the only way is what works for me. The only way, like as far as I've been mentoring and helping you guys along a little ways by, you know, all these years, is I give you my best advice on how I've kind of followed it. And then you guys make up your own, how it works best for you. There may be elements of it that works for you and other elements that I do that don't. Because I can say, even from the old guys telling me along the way when I was getting started, I took elements from them that, you know, I felt comfortable with. But I can tell you, I've had high-end gallerists and museum directors and collectors tell me that my prices are too low.
I hear that all the time.
But, you know, they're not leaving my studio with a piece.
Right.
Okay? Those aren't the people leaving. It's the average Joe who's always leaving with a piece. Whether they're making payments on it, whether they have saved the money, now they're going to take it home with them, whatever it is. What I'm saying to you is I appreciate their objective opinion of what they're saying,
Sure.
but those aren't the people necessarily that are leaving with it.
I take it as a compliment.
I do too.
It happened to me a couple weeks ago. I sold a pair of paintings, bird paintings, that I've been trying to sell for 6 years. And finally, you know, and somebody came up to me and said, I think you underpriced those paintings. You know?
Hey, it's just as you said earlier, read the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the room
But
is physical.
it doesn't even matter though. What I'm saying is that no matter how you work your situation, my main objective is to price your work that you feel comfortable and is fair to you.
Yes,
because you can't keep up with the size.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't disappointed with the price.
That's what I'm saying, but you know, you got these side of people who say, oh, you're too low. Then you got these other side of people, oh, you're too high. So you can't ever please everybody.
No.
That's why for me, I decided I appreciate the comments, but I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
I just have to do the price that I feel comfortable with. To me is a medium price that I feel gives me negotiation room either direction. These people who are telling me I'm too low aren't saying, hey, I'm gonna buy that $1,200 piece for $2,400.
Yeah.
They're not saying that to me. I'll buy it if you raise the price 3 times. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's hard for you to say or legitimize raising the price when they're not the ones who are saying, here's $3,000. I know you only got 500 on it, but this is what it's worth. Boom.
Yeah.
Money on the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody does that. So you're like, okay, well, you know, what do you do with that information? Well, you take it in stride. So, you know, I agree. You know, you read your situation, you know what you got to do. My main thing is always put your fair price. If you feel good about it, then you feel good about it.
Yeah. It's personal choice.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, or just like put your fair price at as the base, and then you know just think of it like an auction.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little wiggle room.
Well, it has to have a little wiggle room because,
if person A is like, oh, you know what, that may be. You know, I'm going to probably going to sit and say like, you got this $1,500 piece, I got $1,450, and then you got person B though who's like $1,500. Here's $3,000.
right? They don't. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. You know, that I think a lot of people, especially up and coming collectors, don't realize. You know, talk with the artists. You know, it's not for most of us. We're not here. It's not really just about the money.
No.
You know, our creative output is going to be there whether it sells or it doesn't. We're going to continue to create because it's in us to create 24/7. It's in our blood. We can't do anything else. This is what we were born to do. This is what we are good at doing. This is what our passion lies. This is where all of our schooling has gone, or non-schooling. Some great artists don't even go to art school. So either way, you know, not that there hasn't been manipulation by artists over the years, and a lot of collectors get really dismayed by that, but not all of us are cheats and con artists.
No.
You know, so talk with the artists. Most artists are very happy to talk to people. They're happy to negotiate with people, you know, in reason. You know, I've had people come to me with tears in their eyes and say, you know, thank you for your art, because I come here so that I can feel something.
Yeah.
I mean, that you couldn't pay me $1 billion for that comment.
I know, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, it is.
It fills me up to a point where I am so,
Yeah.
it makes me know that this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
Not the money, not how I'm gonna pay that bill next week.
It's
that
it's
comment,
the ultimate payoff.
you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, I think some of the discussions that we'll have over time, you know, will be an open-ended thing, because we don't have the answers to it. Maybe some people have suggestions or comments, and I know there's artists out there who have calculations to come up with their, you know, they calculate their time, they calculate this, they calculate that. But honestly, for me, I put my fair price. I do take into consideration, like with some of the digital stuff, like my observation series, how much did I spend for the print? Because I don't do low ball. I don't do low end printing.
Right.
I want it to look good. I want it to hang in your home, be ready to go. So I take all of that into consideration when I'm buying framing or when I'm preparing a piece in the back to hang a certain way. So, you know, I take those calculations obviously into effect. But into calculating my time, I've not really been, because I don't have time to calculate time. I don't have time. I'm too busy, like in the midst of it. Sometimes I'm eating lunch and working on a piece, or I get up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep and I'm working on it. I don't have time to sit and how many hours was that, or
it's
you know,
busy
so
work.
you know what I'm saying? I can't think like that. You know, I applaud people who can, but I'm so busy in the moment. It's all about those moments that sometimes, I don't know about for you guys, but sometimes they just come in spurts and you have to go with it. I can't focus on the hour.
Yeah.
You know, like, go ahead.
You know, like a lot of times when I'm painting, I spend a lot of time just looking at it. You know, and I'll go in for 20 minutes and do my thing, then I'll spend another 20 minutes looking, you know, and what should I do next, or how could I fix that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and you know, and when I get up in the morning, you know, I look at my painting.
Yeah.
What I did last night.
Absolutely.
And that's spending time. You're evaluating.
You're evaluating. You're on the train, and you're thinking about that piece. You know what I mean? Because what I do is I photograph as I go. Because for me, the way my brain works, I don't know if it's because of the dyslexia or whatever, I need to be able to turn that image in different, so that the composition begins to talk to me, but I need to see it. And I even do that while I'm working, like I'm turning the piece, and like you said, I'm sitting back and contemplating it. I need to be able to move it, so then I can see the flow of the composition. Even though if it's a vertical piece, sometimes I need to look at it horizontally or upside down.
A friend of mine comes over all the time. He's a painter, John, and the first thing he does when I show him a new painting, he turns it upside down. Steps back from it.
I mean, with me, you know, as far as like the concept of like time, when I'm working on something, time doesn't exist. I mean, I get like, you know, I go through the planning and what have you. But once I get it, like I start getting into it. I mean, like really getting into it. It's just like I don't know if it's ADD or anything like that, but it's like it's that level. I just go into a complete like trance of hyper focus, where I'm just like, okay, I'm doing this, okay, I'm getting into it. You know, I'm not even thinking about like, you know, how, you know, like the minutia in terms of the design elements, and what I was taught about in school. I'm just in it. Time does not exist, and therefore I can't really calculate.
Like those old movies where
you look at the clock and you're like, what? It's 9 o'clock.
And I look at the time like, oh. Or sometimes, I just like glance at the window like, whoa, it's dark out.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, like, oh, it's
light out.
Oh, okay. But in terms of calculating time, that for me, that's what makes calculating time near impossible.
Yeah, I mean, we can estimate, and certainly I've when I'm working on commission pieces, I do try to keep up with the time so that I can calculate it in a different way.
Yeah.
Because then I don't, I'm learning.
Right.
I'm learning every day, even though I've been in this business for a long time. You never stop learning because your way of doing things is your own personal way of doing things. But as you move forward, you find more a different way to execute efficiency. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
every process can be improved.
it can be improved, but I'm not going to be so flicking the whip at it that I've got to be 100% this way or that way. I think we all got to find the best way that works for us. I think for now on my website, I will leave the prices up now because I've just updated. I'm still continuing to update. But I think on other parts of the pages, I may put just the price ranges. Certain things are the same price. Certain series, that's the price.
Yeah.
But that's because they're all the same size.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that people will not let the price deter them from clicking around. To me, honestly, my website is neither here nor there because I also have other things that I do to promote my work on social media and things like that so people can actually see it, whether I'm showing in progress shots or whatever. A lot of times I'm not trying to sell it. I just want people to see it.
Right.
Especially now because of the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of posts. In fact, I've been posting every day, and I'll tell you, I've been selling a lot of work by doing that. And that's been helping to keep me afloat. And when I say that, just barely.
Right.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine because it's going to people who love it, and that means more to me than anything. Right. And if I'm just getting my bills paid, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I really am. Would I like to be a little ahead of the game a little bit? Yeah, I sure would. But I'm grateful for the little things.
Right.
I really am. And I think a lot of really good artists are like you guys. We just want people to love our work and to appreciate and respect what we have a huge passion for, what we were born to do. And whether you put a price on your website or not, I don't feel like it's here nor there, to be honest. I mean, in my opinion. But like I said, you have these people on one spectrum who think one way, people on this spectrum who think another way. I think we learn as we go. And if it comes to a point where it's deterring people from looking at my work on my website, I'll remove the prices. But the prices are going to be the same regardless,
right.
They're on there or not. That's how I see it. But I don't want people to stop looking. Enjoy, it's free.
Yeah.
You can go on my website for free. You ain't got to buy a damn thing.
Yeah.
But, comment. I have a thing for people to comment on my website if they like what they see or whatever. They can email me if they're interested. But whatever. Mm-hmm. Buying and selling is is not my forte as an artist. It's not my main goal.
No.
Of course, it'd be great that we all, sell things on a regular basis to keep us going. But if I waited on all of that to happen, I don't know that I'd be as creative. I probably would find something better to do with my time.
You know, I know through my lifetime, I know some really brilliant artists who quit making art because they weren't selling it.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, one of my friends is just starting to get back into it.
Yeah.
He hadn't created it in like a decade, and now he's doing it because he's like, you know what, this is like therapeutic. I don't know why I ever gave this up. I'm like,
You gave in to the pressure of society.
Yeah.
And that really is the main thing. I've seen a lot of grumpy old artists in my days.
He measured his success with dollar signs.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't do that.
No.
And you know, that goes back to that question, you know, like, and you know, I will pose that to, you know, to any artist, you guys included.
And that would be that would
what
definitely be a great discussion to have later on with a few other artists.
Yeah.
Is how do you measure your success?
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
Yeah, or what, or you know, or what, you know, what is it? What's in it for you? Like,
Right.
you know, you may be, you're creative, you know, you're good at what you do, you do what you do, and question is why? Everybody has a path that they're going down to, and it's something more of a question that you have to ask yourself.
Well, I can tell you, for me, it's never been a question. It never was a question for me. Creativity has always been part of my life. As soon as I could hold a pencil or a crayon, you know, it is something that is so embedded in how I can navigate through life that whether it's sold or not, I can't live without it.
Right.
And it's what makes sense to me in my life. If I didn't have my art, I wouldn't be here, and that's the God's honest truth. If I didn't have something where my voice can be heard without putting a sentence, or I don't have to say those things out loud, it comes through my work. And I want people to be moved by something that is moved me first.
Yeah.
After that, whatever happens is a bonus. If it sells and somebody loves it so much that they have to have it in their home, that means more than anything to me.
Yeah.
So to me, those questions have never arisen. And so, you know, from what you said too, I've run across those artists and they were so perplexing to me. Why are you so angry?
Yeah.
That's your choice. If that's what you decided to do, was allow people to tell you what to paint or photograph or create,
Yeah.
don't be angry because they're not buying it anymore.
Yeah.
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 And
They moved on to something else, and now you're left in the dust because of it.
Yeah.
But you made that decision. Don't be mad.
And
Your
that's
choice.
And that's why that's why I'm posing that. I'm posing that question because at that point, because you know, unlike you know, like you or you myself, you know, that they would need to revisit that. It's something that they would need to revisit, because if you're upset, this is my opinion. If you're upset that your art is not selling, and if that was the driving factor of why you're not doing artwork anymore, then why have you been doing artwork to begin with?
Right.
What
got you started?
What got you started? What's your purpose? Maybe you know, is it something that you just always wanted to do? Is it something that you just wanted to do
To make money.
To make money?
Yeah, it's a big difference.
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to all to the rest of us. It's the right or wrong answer lies within the person in the mirror. That's a whole
Absolutely.
different conversation, I know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. More videos to come.
exactly.
Well, we're going to leave it on that note.
Yes.
You know, I think that this is how our brains work. I know a lot of you artists out there are gonna, you know, be real.
100% improvisation.
Absolutely, absolutely, because that's the only way we're going to have these discussions. So definitely keep things rolling. We are going to take note on some of the things that we started to talk about, and then maybe incorporate that into another video with some other artists, because I think we want to open up these questions. We want things to be, like you said, just improv, opened, and let people make their judgments and ideas about what they're going to do with their own future as we move forward. So thanks you guys for stopping in today and having this discussion. We're not here to answer these questions, because I think these are going to be judgment calls that everybody's going to have to make down the road, but know that you're not alone in thinking these things. And I think if what we've said kind of helps you decide one way or the other, then great, then we've done our job. So thanks guys.
Thanks.
See you guys to the next video. Thank you. Please subscribe, please share with your friends, and we'll talk to you soon.
Continue the conversation. Comment.
Yeah, comments.